Hi there, my name's Kasey Fulwider. I am the Regional Director for BIRTHFIT Nova, Northern Virginia. You can find that at birthfitnova.com or on Instagram at birthfitnova. I'm also co-owner of Ardent CrossFit. We've been open almost 4 years. My husband and I own the gym, and that's basically how I found my way into BIRTHFIT, through coaching and working with pregnant and postpartum women, and then experiencing that myself. A few weeks ago, I was having a conversation with Lindsay, and somehow came up that I thought perhaps we needed to do a little bit more discussion, put a little bit more out there about body image. So here I am, a few weeks later, hosting a webinar on body image. Body image is a very broad topic, and I think it's definitely a little tricky to cover because it's highly personal and it's different for all of us. So my goal today is not necessarily to solve your body image issues, but hopefully through sharing my own personal story and journey with body image, you'll be able to take something away from that, and I'll share what has been helping me and working for me as I struggle with my own type of body image issues. And like I said, I think it is a highly personal topic, so perhaps my issues aren't the same as yours, but the ways we cope or deal or somehow manage our issues, it could be similar. So I'll start by just sharing my own story. I'm from a small town in Pennsylvania. My mom raised my brother and I, and she was an excellent role model, such a strong woman, very independent, and did a great job raising us on her own. We were raised playing a lot of sports. I was always involved in athletics, and I'm definitely built athletic. I come by it on as my family is strong on both sides. You see my parents, you'll understand immediately where I get my build. I did participate in gymnastics in high school, not at any sort of high level, but that's generally the body type I have. I'm short, like 5'2" on a good day, and built muscular and strong. My senior superlative was best physique. There's a picture of me in the yearbook flexing. So even though back then I maybe was not nearly as muscular or strong as I am now, it definitely is something that I come by naturally and has always been a part of me. When I went to college, I went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. And I don't think I really struggled with any sort of body image issues in my childhood, but when I went to college, I think that's where part of that began. You're required to participate in a sport at the academy, and somehow I found my way to cheerleading tryouts. And so 4 years of the academy I spent on the cheerleading team, and it was a partner sport. So you're partnered with a guy who threw you, tossed you in the air, held you above his head. So of course there are benefits to being small and light. And we had a weight limit, which was 125 pounds. And if you weighed more than that at any of the weigh-ins, you basically had to deal with some sort of repercussion, whether it be being pushed back to JV or not making the team, whatever that is. So we were very aware of what we weighed, how big we were, and how that affected what we were doing. I don't think I necessarily struggled with any sort of eating disorders, but there were definitely girls on my team that did. One specifically, she was so tiny, and I definitely lost a lot of weight. And I clearly remember, I think our senior year, we had to step on the scale for one of our weigh-ins, and she had been trying to deal with her issues and come back from that, so she chose not to look at the scale that day. And our coach said, "Oh, you're fine. You still have some muscle mass on your bones." And I couldn't believe it. That was just kind of the mentality that was being pushed towards us, that it was okay to lose weight, that we should be trying to lose weight, that we need to be as small as possible. And it definitely had an effect on me in the long term. That number, 125, is always on my mind, seared in my brain. Anytime I step on a scale or think about what I weigh, the number 125 flashes through my mind. My junior year, I went on spring break and we had tryouts the week following. And I'm sure I could have done better on spring break to make sure I wasn't going to have this problem. But when I came back for tryouts, I stepped on the scale and was over 125, just barely. Like, I don't even think I weighed 126 pounds, but it was enough that it affected my tryout, and my coach put me on JV to start my senior year, which really sucked. So I remember going for a long run that night and the next day, stepping on the scale. I had lost like 4 or 5 pounds, and trying to talk to her, but she wouldn't have it. So I started my senior year on JV. It didn't last. I got moved up eventually, but that definitely had an effect. I was very conscious and aware of my weight and doing what I could and what I had to do to try and stay light where I thought I needed to be in order to be successful on that team. And that definitely carried with me into the future, into everything I've done. So following graduation, I was commissioned into the Marine Corps. I'm not built that way. I have strong legs. I have a lot of muscle, and it was just turned into this cycle of me trying to be smaller than I naturally should be. So when I graduated from Navy, I was commissioned in the Marine Corps, and I was in the Marines for about 6.5 or 7 years. And same thing during that time, there was always a lot of looking at the scale and trying to run my butt off, literally, like trying to lose the muscle I had naturally and basically ignoring what I was kind of built to do. I'm built strong, and I did everything in my power to not have that muscle. So I dealt with that, always dealing with the number on the scale. And then 2007, I had my first baby while I was still active duty. And that was a whole nother world of things you had to face afterwards. When I was still in, you had 6 months to perform your physical fitness test after delivering a baby, which is insane. It's 100 sit-ups and 3-mile run and a flexed arm hang at that time. Now it's pull-ups. And you have 6 months, you're supposed to be performing at that same high level. So that is a lot of undue pressure on a newly postpartum mom trying to get back to this performance level that they were at previously. And it's like factors into your progress, your reports. So I pushed myself and somehow got back and was running a PFT at 6 months postpartum. Probably not my best, but I did 100 sit-ups. So, and still dealing with that number on the scale. And I got out of the Marine Corps in 2008 and had another pregnancy in 2010. About 2 weeks after, and I'm going to apologize now because there are probably going to be some points in time where I get slightly emotional throughout this talk. But in 2010, my ex-husband deployed when my baby was about 2 weeks old. And we weren't necessarily in the best place during those years, but when he left, I kind of got it set in my mind that I would do whatever it takes to get to be what he wanted. And that was a lot of unnecessary working out and trying to get my body back to a place where I thought it should be in order to save my marriage. And it didn't work. He came home from a deployment. You know, I stayed with my mom for a few months during that deployment. And then when he came home, I'd been alone with my 3-year-old and my 6-month-old. And the day he came home, he told me he didn't love me. And I took that hard. It was rough. It was a really rough point of time in my life. So shortly after that, I made the decision to move to Virginia from California, where we had been living. I wanted to be closer to my family, and my mom's in Pennsylvania, so that was as close as I could get and still get a job. So picked up my kids and moved across country to here, to where I am now. And somewhere along the way, I found my way into a CrossFit gym, and that was pretty substantial and life-changing. You know, I went in initially to find a sense of community and hopefully find some friends, because I was by myself and moved across the country. And what I found was more than that. It was a community that accepted and appreciated strength. And it was the first time I'd ever been around that. So it started, at least in that way, positively impacting my views of my body. I wasn't so caught up anymore in trying to spin away or run away the muscle, or trying to be a certain weight. I started to appreciate what my strength could do and what my body was capable of, which, you know, kind of turned into my whole new set of body image issues, because initially I lost some weight and then I started packing on some muscle. And all in all, I've maybe gained 8 to 10 pounds of muscle. I weigh high 120s now, over that 125 point. But when I'm in a CrossFit gym or around people that appreciate that or understand that, I feel okay. But when I'm out in public, I don't. It's hard. I hate the summer. I hate wearing tank tops. I hate going places in my swimsuit. And, you know, I'm better than I have been in a long time with that type of thing, but it's hard. You feel stares constantly. It always surprises me what people think is appropriate to say to you. And I know this is a lot of talk about the body image surrounding muscle, but I think it all kind of translates to the postpartum and pregnancy as well. But it constantly amazes me what people will say, or or just stand there and stare at you. And I don't understand it. So that's been more of my struggle recently, is dealing with that type of body image issues. And sometimes I feel happy and strong and okay. And then other times we'll go somewhere and I'll be like, what the hell's going on? Why are you looking at me? No, I'm not on anything. This is just the way my body is. I'm sorry. But all that being said, this kind of leads us to where I am now in this new chapter where I just had another baby. He's 9 months old. My husband has 2 kids from previous marriage. They're 18 and 15. I have my 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, and then we have a 9-month-old. So we have a full house, lots of things going on. And I knew, you know, I'm not the greatest at CrossFit, but I do like to compete. And so I knew I went into this pregnancy knowing how that would affect me, how it would affect my body. I did my due diligence through BIRTHFIT. Thank goodness I had that, and I felt prepared and ready throughout my pregnancy. I worked, I shifted my mindset to make sure that I was training properly, training safely, and preparing myself for delivery and postpartum recovery. And I thought I did a good job. I did do a good job. And then my whole world was turned upside down when I had a traumatic C-section that I was not expecting or wanting. So this is where we're looking emotional. So yeah, things didn't go as planned. I ended up I was in a pretty rough position after I came out of my surgery. My blood pressure was extremely low. They had to pump me full of fluids. So I ballooned up. It was crazy. I couldn't fit into any of the clothes I brought with me. I didn't feel a place in my own body. I felt completely foreign. And the hardest part, at least in relation to the body image issues during that period, was when they made me take off my bandage. And I needed my husband to do it. I couldn't look. It was horrible and hard and sad. And I felt scarred and I felt inadequate because I had it. Because that's what I had to do and where we were. And you know, so that was that. And then being so extremely bloated, I guess is the right word, when I came home, where it was, I didn't feel good. And so luckily I have this amazing support system through BIRTHFIT. I reached out to Lindsay. She put me in touch with Mel. I also talked to Gina at a point in time during that, all of whom helped me greatly kind of just get my head in the right place and start to heal. And I'm very fortunate to be good friends with Rachel Crawford. She is the founder of T-Motions. If you don't know what T-Motions is, you should definitely listen to that podcast. It's great. She's amazing. And she is one of the best listeners I've ever known. And I sat down with her a week or two postpartum and just talked and cried. And she told me, and I carry this with me every day, just to give myself grace. And that's sort of become my mantra throughout this. So, and not just in the body image aspect, but in every day, in struggling through a workout or feeling frustrated as a mom or whatever the case may be. I think about what Rachel told me, and she knows this. I thank her constantly just to give myself grace. So that's been huge for me in the past 10 months, however long this has been. And it's a constant work in progress. It's not easy, but I do feel like I am in a better place now through BIRTHFIT and through what I have learned by hosting the postpartum series and being able to be a regional director and reaching out and talking to women, and just through this amazing community. I'm in a better place now than I ever have been, even after going through some of the hard parts that I've experienced recently. So that's my story, and kind of brings us to where I am now. And I think there are some big concepts that I've really used and learned from during the past year that have helped me get to like a point where I feel more secure in myself and happier and more confident. One of the things I've really tried to adopt, which I think everybody can do, is just positive self-talk. So every time I feel those negative thoughts come into my mind, which happens probably more often than I care to admit, and it's not just in relation to my body, but in relation to how I'm feeling during a workout or how I'm feeling as a mom, I try and nip it in the bud as soon as I can. So and then to speak positively to myself. And I think that's something that we all need to do, is just to, as soon as we hear those negative thoughts come in, just take a step back and try to think of something positive, whatever it may be, and not let those negative thoughts overwhelm us and dictate our day. I think one of the most impactful parts of the postpartum series, at least the ones I've been fortunate enough to teach, is discussing the concept of pre-baby body and the fact that there's no such thing. Like there's no such thing as a pre-baby body. We are postpartum, and postpartum's forever. And it's not possible to ever be pre-baby. You're not pre-baby, you're post-baby. And a lot of women will say, I just want to get my body back. And all I can think is, like, your body never went anywhere. It's been here all along and with you through this hard, challenging, amazing journey. It's weathered and it's scarred and it's tattered, but it's been there by your side. It's you. It's not something we need to get back. It's something we need to appreciate and take care of. And I think that's the point that resonates a lot with a lot of the moms I've worked with, is just kind of appreciating that and understanding that there's no such thing. We never are pre-baby. We're always postpartum forever. So I had one mom in one of my series and she was a good athlete. She's always been a good athlete. And she broke down one day and talking about how she felt like all of her friends and family, when they called to talk to her, all they wanted to hear about was how she was snapping back and bouncing back. They weren't interested in hearing about her baby. That wasn't the first thing they asked. They just expected, because she was this fit mom previously, that she was fit and in shape and worked out throughout her pregnancy, that all of a sudden she would have this miraculous, like, here I am 2 months postpartum looking like I did whenever. And it was really draining on her. So I encourage any of you that when you're talking, just to leave those words out. It doesn't matter what we look like. It matters what we're doing and how we're feeling. And the rest of that will come down the road. There's no rush. So I think this resonated with her, and she's amazing. She's doing such a good job, but it just takes time, and there's no need to put that undue pressure on us. And to have friends or family do that makes it even harder, because you feel that pressure, and it's hard to not to succumb to that. But I think that's our job in this postpartum period, just to help each other and encourage each other, not to give each other thoughts like that. Another mom I had, she only gained about 20 pounds during her pregnancy. She had a little bitty baby, like 5-pounder. And I think she thought she was immediately going to be back to where she was. And it's those 15 or so pounds have just lingered, and she's really gotten down on herself about it. So we just had this discussion last week, and I think it's really helped her come to terms, just understanding that this is just a time to be patient, not to rush, and just be grateful for what we've done and what we've accomplished. I listened to a podcast, Ben Bergeron's podcast, Chasing Excellence, and quite frequently, and one topic he discussed, which I think is so important for this, is the definition of happiness. And I think oftentimes, especially as women, we're so critical and hard on ourselves, and we tend to define our happiness by achievement. So, for example, that number, 125. Once I reach 125, when I weigh 125 again, I'll be happy. Or when I fit into those jeans again, I'll be happy. But the problem with that is once we hit that number, then there's the next goal. Well, maybe I can weigh 124, or maybe I can get down under 120, or maybe I need a smaller pair of jeans, or whatever the case may be. So instead of using achievement to determine our happiness, I think we need to focus more on gratitude and being thankful. And so I've been trying to do that myself. Instead of looking at my body and seeing what might be wrong, I'm going to try and look at my body and see and appreciate what it has done for me. So I challenge all of us to just take a step back, and we do this in the postpartum series, where we have to look at our bodies for a minute in the mirror and see where our eyes fall, and then we talk about it. And I challenge you all to appreciate and thank your body for what it's done. Whether it be, say you're me and you struggle with body image surrounding your muscle strength, be thankful that you have the strength to carry all of your babies at once if you need to. Be thankful that that C-section scar probably saved your baby's life. If that didn't happen, I might not have my baby. So instead of being so critical or hanging that happiness on the achievement, I choose to be grateful for the scars I have and for the strength I have. So I think that's something that's fairly easy for us all to do, is just take a few minutes and appreciate what our bodies can do and what they have done, and not be so critical of them. I spoke about this a little earlier. This was huge for me during pregnancy, just shifting my mindset and my goals. And I think it applies both to pregnancy and postpartum. I think I heard Lindsay say this at one point early on, that we need to train for birth and train for delivery, and you're training for delivery. And it took me a while to shift that mindset. But once I did that, I was really able to tackle pregnancy in a completely different fashion. I gave myself grace. I took a step back when I needed to, and I was just able to focus on what I was preparing for, which is a huge thing to prepare for. It takes some work, but it also takes a conscious effort. And I think postpartum is the same, and it applies directly to our bodies. Our goal should not be to just drop the weight or to get back to some position we want to get back to. It should be just to nourish and take this time to really heal and recover and bond. So setting a clear goal that directly aligns with that, instead of setting goals that are, about how we look or about what we're wearing, I think is huge. Mel recently talked about one of these last points I have, that this postpartum period is like a huge opportunity to reset and just to reestablish good movement, and not without all the unnecessary pressure. So take advantage of that. Don't put the pressure on yourself. Just take a step back and and take it slowly and take advantage of that. It's so rare that we have the opportunity to take a step back. So in this period, in these months after having that beautiful little baby, just take advantage of the slowness and don't rush and don't put undue pressure on yourself. And my last point I wanted to discuss is, and this one's also personal, you know, I have a 10-year-old little girl, and she has mentioned to me already that made comments about her belly or about different parts of her body, and it breaks my heart, and it really does. And then I start to question myself and wonder if perhaps I'm putting, you know, if I'm not being the best example. So, and I don't know that that's the case. I think I feel like I do a good job with that. I don't think I'm not being a good example for her. But anytime I feel these negative thoughts or doubt my body or doubt or feel the pressures, then I stop and think about her and what I'd want her to feel and what I want her to experience. And I don't want her to have those issues. I want her to be confident and happy and healthy and full of life and energy, which she is. She's my handful, but she's beautiful, and I love her, and I want to be a good example for her. So I'm sorry. I know I'm highly emotional when it comes to this stuff, but I wanted to just take this time to share with you my personal experience. And I know it's different for each of us. And today, earlier today, I was talking to one of my friends at the gym, and I'm talking about this webinar, and she asked if you guys would be able to see me. And I know the reason she asked was because I might not look like I look fit. I'm muscular, and maybe perhaps that's not what a lot of people would expect the typical person with body image issues to look like. But I struggle daily, and I've come a long way with it. And I think that's important to realize as well, that when you're at the gym or when you're at the supermarket and you look across and you see a woman that looks, you know, she was beautiful. She's perfect. She's wonderful. I guarantee you she's at home struggling just as much as we all are. So I try to keep that in mind and talk and communicate these. This has helped me as well, being able to express all of these emotions and these things and share with women and allow them to have a safe space to open up. And it's amazing what people will share when they feel they have a safe space. So my biggest takeaway is give yourself grace and practice gratitude in relation to your body. Okay. And I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that is generally what I wanted to say tonight. It might not be, I don't know how long that took, Lindsay, but.
No, that was great. You're right at 30 minutes. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kasey.
No, you're welcome.
It's, I'm glad you mentioned about your daughter, because I've heard other people talk about that too. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions or feedback? Do you see the comments over here?
Yeah, I do. I'm looking.
Yeah.
No, everybody, you're very welcome. I was a little nervous because it is hard to share, but thank you for listening.
Yeah. It's what do you say to, and I may have asked you this once, but you know, if I go to the farmer's market or somewhere, and I think I've asked you this, like, and somebody comments and they're like, oh my God, how often do you work out?
Then I don't know. I get that a lot. Like, do you work out? No.
Yeah.
This is just natural. I don't know. It's more the stares that'll get me, or like whispers, and my husband will notice it too. And I can tell when he sees it and I don't, because he gets a little
protective. Yeah.
But I've started just smiling at people. Like if I catch them staring and just, I don't know, just letting them know I'm aware that they're looking at me. And typically the people that do it aren't necessarily healthy. And that's the part I don't
Right.
understand. Like, what do you want me to do? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Mm. It's when we go outside of our bubble, our safe zone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, here's a question. What's the best way to talk with a mom that is so focused on getting her body back instead of embracing her postpartum body? Um, I know you touched on this a little bit, but yeah, maybe if you have an example or two of how you've worked with somebody in your gym.
Well, like I said, I know that the whole concept of that pre-baby body has resonated with a lot of the moms I've talked to, and they've provided feedbacks and told me that they had never really thought that way, and it's always kind of the goal. So really talking about a realistic representation of what their body is now, and understanding that that doesn't exist. We are this way, and our body is changed for the better.
Mm-hmm.
So constant encouragement through that. Some moms are super stubborn too, and they want to get back in there and do things quickly. And so it's constant encouragement to get them to slow down and to embrace the journey and appreciate what their body has accomplished. And I mean, it can be challenging, especially if it's a mom that was a certain way or wants to be a certain way again, or is competitive, or whatever the case may be. It can be challenging, but it's constant encouragement to get them to slow down.
Yeah. And I think, like the constant encouragement, like it's a practice, and they have to have that awareness with them every day. And part of like maybe your responsibility, or if you want to go just a little further outside the role of a coach, asking them why, like what is it that they may identify with, in that pre-baby body, and seeing if there's a different way they can identify with it in the postpartum, but yeah, it's a constant practice. Yeah. Here's another one. How would you approach someone who has body images about being too small? Mostly we see mamas and women wanting to be thinner or more fit. But what about the opposite? Someone who thinks they're too thin or not enough one way or another. Does that make sense? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, that none of this, it's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of the principles, or like the techniques or coping skills, are the same for everyone. So are you talking like in postpartum or just in general?
Yeah, I think in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, like you said, the gratitude, picking out certain, like the mirror exercise is so good.
Yeah.
When you look in the mirror, where do your eyes land on your body? How's that area served you? And Kasey's right. It doesn't go, just for large people, just for muscular people, just for small people. Everybody has insecurities, or, things that they think are the freak flags, so it's the same, gratitude and learning to live in the body you have today. It's the same. Yeah. Oh.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I'll share this. One of the things at the coach seminar, which is from Mel, and you mentioned Mel, she's, practices in constant practice around this stuff too, is, the phrase living life forward. And, what would it take you doing today to start to make you feel like you're sexy, or you're thin, or whatever it is you may desire, or getting into that body today without, dreaming of it 3 months from now,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah. Hmm. And it's hard. Postpartum is, there's so many different phrases for it. Like, I just had one woman that said she felt like a bus exited her vagina.
Yeah.
Like that is, bam, slapping you in the face. And it's oh, it's a totally different body than
Yeah.
anybody would like prepare you for.
And one thing I've found, like I feel as though perhaps now I look stronger than I am. So like
Mhm.
I don't, maybe other women in that work out like this will experience that, but my strength is nowhere close to what it once was. But
Right.
I feel like there's still that assumption that I should be able to do so I try not to put that pressure on myself as well. Trying not to
Right.
taking
Right.
my time to get back there, even though maybe I look like I should be able to do more than I can.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Or like if you go to like a mini competition or a CrossFit competition somewhere and people look at you and they make assumptions, like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
she'll probably win the workout, like, no.
Yeah. No, sorry guys.
uh, Here's a comment.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to also understand a perspective of the physical capability changes that happen during the prenatal period. Outside the body image changes, there's often a what I used to be able to do mentality and how to know what to anticipate, except about the physical ability changes for those that were competitive prior to pregnancy.
Yeah. I think
Right
that's part of
here.
what I was just saying. Yeah. Like I think what I found personally is I felt strong throughout my pregnancy, like really strong. And I think, and then once your baby is no longer in there, it's like you're like a deflated balloon. And so I felt like I'm like, why? I don't understand why this doesn't work anymore. But basically I was not able to create inter-abdominal pressure anymore because it was like nothing was where it should be. And that really just takes some time to reestablish that strength. So even though maybe my body, like I still have strong arms, I still have strong legs, but the rest of it's not functioning the same way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that strength was no longer there. Like it was crazy initially when I started doing any sort of squatting, the difference in soreness I experienced because I was squatting differently. I was relying on different things. And so as I've reestablished some of my inner abdominal, like the strength in my core, that has shifted again. So I remember the first time I tried wall balls, I was like, oh my gosh, my legs, my hip flexors were so sore, but I think I was compensating strength wise because I wasn't able to use my core properly yet.
Be efficient with the movement.
Yeah. So it just takes time. And I'm now at like that almost 10-month period where I feel like I'm finally getting back to normal on a lot of things. Things felt weird for a while and it just off balance or not quite the same. And it's all just almost getting back to there a full 9 to 10 months later.
Yeah. I wish everybody would hear that. Like it takes around 9 to 12 months to heal. We talk about that every event. I feel like, it takes soft tissue around an average of, 280 days to heal.
Yeah.
Nobody tells you that. And here's another one. How have you dealt with being active with CrossFit during pregnancy? That's a good one. I feel like I had more comments than I know what to do during my pregnancy as far as you shouldn't lift that, be careful, don't hurt yourself. It was super frustrating when I felt I was being super healthy and staying active.
Yeah.
Different mindsets, huh?
Right. And I'm of the mindset that like I was doing this for a long time leading up to it. It wasn't like I just jumped in and started CrossFitting in the middle of my pregnancy. And I understood, I trusted my body and I knew how I felt. And if something felt off, I didn't do it. If I felt strong that day, I did it. But yeah, there's constant criticism out there. Lindsay shared a video of me squatting at about 35 weeks or so. And I was shocked at the comments, like basically accusing me of being selfish
Yeah.
and caring about my baby. So I mean, that criticism is going to be out there. I think that's the process. That's part of this movement, is changing mindset, the mind of people. Like, there's a lot of old school thoughts out there that just aren't relevant anymore. And
Totally.
yeah, I think it's just about trusting your body and your instincts. I mean, yes, there are certain things you shouldn't do that may not be safe, but for the vast majority of my pregnancy, at least, I knew when I shouldn't do something, and I didn't do it.
Yeah. I'm reading Brene Brown's new book right now, and she talks about like being face to face with people. There you go. But like, you wouldn't say, like, especially the internet, social media, Instagram, like, you wouldn't say comments like that to somebody's face.
No.
You know, like it's just super coward. Yeah. Hopefully we're changing the perspective that pregnant women are superheroes, and we need to be a little more gentle in the postpartum, show a little more grace. Yeah. Yeah, so if anybody has anything else to add, we'll take it. If not, we'll wrap up in like 2 minutes. Thanks for sharing again, Kasey. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have one last thing to say?
Give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Practice gratitude.
Yeah.
One more.
What does your morning routine look like? Oh, somebody got you.
Yeah.
I'm 10 months out as well, and I've struggled getting back into a routine of fitness. I've started and stopped and restarted the online postpartum series a few times just because of other family medical issues. I have this overwhelming feeling daily that I'm so behind, and my body image is just wrecked. I also have a lot of friends and family constantly telling me once I stop nursing, the fat will fall off. But I'm so proud of nursing, and I get so upset by that as well. Yes, that's a good point. This had me feeling all the feels. Thank you, and I hope to keep these concepts and move forward in the journey. That's interesting about the nursing comment, because I hear that all the time, and I thank you for bringing that up too. Like, oh, just wait till you stop nursing, all the weight will fall
Right.
off. Like,
yeah.
What? So you don't want me to take care of this baby? Like, that's what I'm trying to take care of this baby through feeding. Like,
right. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, give yourself as much time as you need, Brittany.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany, for posting that. Do you have Brittany, I was just thinking, do you have a local gym you can go to? I think community through a time like that is super important. Desiree, what changes would you make to the PFT postpartum? Well, the time frame is ridiculous. In this past postpartum series, they have changed it. I think it's 6 months minimum to do your physical fitness test. The physical fitness test is a 3-mile run, sit-ups in 2 minutes, and pull-ups or push-ups, right? Now, I just had 3 young enlisted Marines in this postpartum series, and all of them were under so much stress already about being able to pass their PFT in 6 months. So although I don't think they're necessarily required to do it at that 6-month point, I think their commands at least were going to require them to run and do their physical fitness test at 6 months. And it's insane. So I don't know, they need at least, like we're just saying, it takes that 9 to 12 months to recover. So a whole year before they should even have any sort of expectations of physical fitness standards like that, especially sit-ups, and running is something that's high impact. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's unreal because at the coach seminar and through BIRTHFIT, like, we don't recommend sit-ups ever. We're team no sit-ups, but at 6 months, it's maybe we'll allow running if form and everything's great. Maybe we'll allow a burpee if mom's moving well. But that's, oh man, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know what the other services, I was going to ask Mel at some point what the Air Force standards are, but the Marine Corps seems pretty unrealistic. And I think height and weight standards are also on there with, they have that 6 months to a year window to get back within height and weight standards, which is also unnecessary pressure. Just like you're just saying, if they're nursing, that might stop them from nursing within that time period if they want to try and get that weight off so they can have a good performance report in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, super stressed.
Yeah.
Brittany answered your question. She said she doesn't have a gym right now. I think that was your question, but worked with Erica Boland. Nice. Awesome, guys, ladies, anybody that's listening. Let's wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for coming and sharing space with us tonight and allowing Kasey this awesome platform to share her story. I know every one of us can relate to it. And like she said, show yourself some grace, maybe even try the mirror exercise tonight and tomorrow and the rest of the week. But thank you all, and hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone.